Now that you've pretty much gotten to the point of understanding structures, you've probably also gotten to the point of realizing that structures influence behavior. It's difficult to say that structure actually defines behavior because that things change over time. I mean, think about the way that a river flows within the river banks until such time as there's a flood, and then where the riverbanks are is apt to get redefined. So the structure influences behavior, though, when you introduce active elements into the structure, like people who have the ability to choose. All bets are off sometimes, though structure has a tendency to influence what the behavior looks like, so that if you want the behavior of the set of relationships to change, it's the relationships that have to change. And at times, you have to figure out who was responsible for defining the relationships, and they have to decide that they actually want the relationships to change. So once you understand the set of relationships that's responsible for causing the situation to be the way it is, you then need to figure out how to alter that set of relationships to produce the behavior that you're looking for. And the detailed approach to going about doing that is a bit beyond what was intended for this particular course, though in the references section I've put a link to this paper by Donella Meadows, which is actually a marvelous piece of work where she in fact defines 12 different categories of approaches that one can consider in the context of a structure to determine the ways that you might alter the relationships and therefore the behavior of the result. In a shorter term, and it's not a long paper, and I would encourage you to read it, maybe more than once. In the shorter term, I'm also working on another course called Systems Archetypes. And there are a number of frequently recurring structures which have well-defined patterns of behavior. They're called archetypes because they occur over and over and over again in all disciplines of science, everyday life, business. And they are well-defined structures with characteristic patterns of behavior, and they have well-defined strategies identified for how to deal with those structures. And it's all based off of beginning to try to do something. You want to fix a problem, which is a goal-seeking structure, or you want to promote growth, which is a growth structure, a reinforcing structure. And that could evolve into one of a number of different structures, and that structure could evolve into something else. So for each one of the pictures on this diagram, there is a characteristic structure. This is a addiction structure. To take one in particular, a drifting goal structure. A drifting goal structure begins with a goal-seeking loop where what I want is different than what I have, so that gap causes me to take action to move what I have in the direction of what I want. The difficulty is that it takes a period of time for this action to actually move what I have to what I want. And the difference between them creates a gap which represents a tension, and we typically don't do well with tension, so that what I have ends up functioning like a goal in concert with what I want to influence a pressure to actually reduce what I want. So that there's two ways to reduce this tension. One is I can move what I have in the direction of what I want, or I can move what I want in the direction of what I have. If I decide that what I want is what I already have, then there is no gap and I don't have to do anything. Think about people's New Year's resolutions to lose weight. So I decide that I'm 20 pounds overweight and I want to lose 20 pounds, and I take action and I lose 5 pounds. in the first week, and then I end up on a plateau, and it's not changing, and it's not going anywhere, and I'm getting depressed. And so finally, the pressure to settle for less, I finally decide that losing 5 pounds is sufficient, and there is no more tension, and things are fine. So this particular structure is also presented in a stock and flow simulation model in the Archetypes course, so that one can actually interact with the structure to see the way that the pattern plays out, so that with no reduction in the goal, if this is the goal, over time the current state simply evolves and finally achieves the goal. Though if it takes a period of time and there is some movement of the desired state itself, you end up with a situation where, as the current state is evolving, the goal is actually declining and the person ends up settling for less. And these are set up in a way so that after several interactions, it actually opens this model up so that a person can interact with it and play with it to actually get a sense of how it behaves, and it presents a set of the well-defined strategies for the way to deal with this situation should you encounter it. So the benefit of archetypes is that because they're frequently occurring well-defined structures with well-defined characteristic patterns of behavior, if you identify them and realize that this is the archetype that I'm dealing with, then you can use the well-defined proven strategies for dealing with it rather than having to figure it out all over again from scratch. So sort of a thought on how to find the sweet spot, how to do something meaningful with the newfound ability to create relationship maps, structures that give you a sense of why things are the way they are, how to go about making them the way that you would like them to be. So hope you found this meaningful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.